How's it going out there? It's September 16th. I'm Frank Curzio. It's the Wall Street Unplugged podcast where I break down headlines and tell you what's really moving these markets. So, new format. Gonna go right into it with Daniel. I want to get some feedback on a new format. So, we separated into 3 different days. Today's the day that Daniel and I talk about the biggest stories in the market, what's going on, how to play them, how to make money. Fun segment. Daniel, bring you in. What's going on, buddy? How's everything?
Frank Curzio, doing well, sir. How about you?
Tired. Really
bet.
tired coming in last night. So,
I got to admit, we're going to have to do different rooms here in the studio because I don't even know if I can be around you anymore. I mean, you're a bigwig now. I don't know how much you're going to this super secret meeting you just got back from. Wow.
It was. I mean, that wasn't the purpose for me to go there. It was a much bigger purpose to meet somebody. But it was actually a fundraiser for Ryan Zinke, who's running for Congress and in Montana. So they had this party in Dallas, and it was one of the craziest things because they had it at the guy that I was going to meet. His best friend owns a house, and the house had to be 100 rooms. One of the biggest places I've ever seen the ballroom was probably like $5 million alone. It was 60 people. Then next thing you know, Governor Abbott walks in and he's like, hey, he's like dressed down, hanging out. And it's like, and I mean, the people that were there, it was almost borderline uncomfortable. But I loved Abbott. He was a great guy. He was really, really cool. And listen, I'm not a political guy. I don't like being around those circles. But one thing is for sure, when you see people like that, it was another level. And I'm not saying for me to say that, but, I've talked to leading CEOs. I mean, the people that were there, I would say, maybe out of 60, more than 10% of the crowd were billionaires.
Billionaires with a B?
B with a billion, yeah. So it was, it was really cool. It was company. I met a lot of these people, great contacts. But for me, getting in those circles, I mean, these are the people who you could talk to. If they like ideas, they'll throw millions behind it. They're in the biggest trends. One guy, I didn't even know his dad was a billionaire, but he's funding his son, who's one of the top gamers in the world for Call of Duty. He was a fantastic kid, and he was telling me that the reason why he's based in Dallas because you have that like split-second difference, which is the difference between winning and losing. And, he makes millions of dollars a year, and his dad's funding him with this whole new platform, and it's going to be really cool, new format. I thought it was amazing what they're doing. They're coming out with their company pretty soon and raising money for it. One of the largest real estate developers who's building his own freaking city in California. I'm not kidding you. Building his own city, not a couple buildings, his own city.
We need a Curzio city.
We do need a Curzio city. We do need that.
What benefit do we get from this? Now that you're rubbing shoulders with all these, like, do we not have to pay taxes for a while? Or
I don't. You still got to pay taxes.
Damn it.
Sorry. Yeah, I couldn't put in a good word for you.
All right.
So, I mean, it was. Yeah, I was really impressed with the governor. I thought he was down to earth. He was really cool. They were talking how Ryan, again, someone who I met on a business trip already, great guy, former Navy SEALs, and just talking about that aspect. And when Ryan got up there, he was talking about, these people and who served, they really, like the Afghanistan thing is huge. It's so huge. It's we left people behind. It doesn't matter who the president, whatever. That's something like every single nobody does that, right? So that was a big topic, and he was just telling us how a lot of people feel, and from that point of view, from the military point of view, and that was pretty powerful. Governor and I was going around shaking hands, just hanging out with everybody. It was just, it was like 60 people, so it wasn't a big party. And this house was, if you saw like the old Dynasty, times that by like 10. That's this. I mean, easily over $100 million house. It was something I've never seen before, but it was almost like a uncomfortable kind of thing. Not my crowd, right? So, but I do know that covering all the industries, I had great conversations with all of them. Yeah. Because no matter what industry they were in, I was able to talk to them, and it was fantastic. And building those contacts and having people like that, and being able to have those contacts to raise money. Another one was software engineers, cool kid. Young guy. I was like, how many employees you have? He's like, I think he had like 125 employees. I said, how much revenue you doing? He's like, 150 million a year. I was like, it was, and he's like, I'm not looking to go public at all. He's like, and this is like a software development IT thing. And he said he can't find anybody to work for him, because it's just so hard to labor. But he said that, no one's really doing what he's doing in the oil industry. And yeah, he's just a really good guy. He's like, I'm not going public. I like the way we are right now. It's really cool. And but we all looking for people, and we just can't find people. He's like, even from India, whatever, I can't get anyone here, and he's just, just meeting a lot of really cool, down to earth people as well. You have the arrogant there, and they're like, hey,
Yeah, you get that with poor people.
Which is fine. Yeah, you get that with everybody. But it was cool. But the reason why I went there is the person I'm talking to has helped me out a lot with a couple of things that we're going to be doing with our company. So
no, that's great. Hey, two things I got to ask. One is, what was the adult beverages there? Were you all doing like martinis, or was there like beer there?
There was everything.
Everything, of course.
There was like 3 bars. Like he has 3 bars. It's not like they set up bars. They're actually bars with all top shelf.
Nice.
Everything, wine, everything, but everything obviously top shelf for a party like that.
And the other thing I think about is, what's the saying? You're 7 people away from knowing everybody in the world, basically. Is it 7?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Like the Kevin Bacon game or something.
Yeah, but think about, but what you just said is like, man, you meet everybody you just met there. You're 1 person away from everybody they know. And when you're in a room like that and people are traveling all the time, that's just, it's kind of neat. It's fun to think about how small the world is in a sense like that. So.
It is. And it provides like good for podcast guests, and, some of these guys down to earth, some of these guys came from nothing. And, for me, the networking is huge because these guys have massive people within their network. And for me, being on that, on both sides, so you see, like we mentioned it last week, right, where we know that the big technology companies are funding, the Democratic platform, but they also are funding Republican platforms, right? They just donate more to whatever party they want, right? Because they need those connections and everything. But you really have to be in those rooms, even though it's uncomfortable. And,
now you get used to it, Frank. It's
I wasn't too uncomfortable because everyone was drinking at the end and having a lot of fun and stuff, and it was really cool. But it was a great part, great ideas. I might be able to get it 2, 3 guys on my podcast, but it was definitely worth it. I also met a few companies before that, had meetings set up. I think I saw Shooter McGavin, which is the highlight of my freaking trip. Shooter McGavin. Oh my God, that was awesome. And I looked at him and I sent a picture, and someone was like, "That's not him." I looked at him. I don't know why. That was like more important than meeting the governor for me. Just like
Happy Gilmore is a great movie.
But and they just did like a TikTok video thing, which was cool, with Adam Sandler, like going back and forth, like, shoot, I'm coming after you.
Yep.
And like now and everything. It was just great. So
that's funny.
From Happy Gilmore, but it was funny. And then a couple of New Orleans Saints players walked into where we eating breakfast, which was like a hole in the wall place that had unbelievable. They had like serving 5 omelets and stuff, 5 egg omelets. There's all these like great breakfast. It was unbelievable. And yeah, these guys walked in because they're practicing in Dallas. But Dallas is like, I could tell you, Dallas is definitely the gold digger capital of the world. I mean,
gold digger capital of the world.
By far. And I've traveled everywhere. Holy cow. And we were in a high, exclusive area in Dallas, but holy cow, it was like,
hell yeah, you were at a 100-room house. I would say you're in an exclusive area.
Yeah, it was.
See, for all you subscribers and listeners, isn't this great? Frank's down to earth, rubbing shoulders with football players, governors, and all that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, but going on a plane was not the easiest thing either, and that's a good segue for this, guys. I'm gonna be able to provide, like, they were asking me about stock trends and stuff, and we'll get to uranium in a minute because we had Amir on in the first, and some of the gains that we saw. Having them on just before all these things really took off, and uranium spot price is at $50. We'll go over that in a minute, which is incredible. I think that like 2 weeks ago, like 32, 31. But have some great ideas, private ideas as well, and share with Curzio One, and also with the Curzio Venture members and things that we may be able to get into. So a lot of deals going on and people talking about that, which is fantastic. But I'll get more into that with subscribers. But the COVID thing, and getting the vaccine, it's a big deal. Like, I got my first shot, and I got to get my other one probably in about 2 weeks. But talking to a lot of people and going, again, it is Texas. Texas is similar to Florida. I would say Florida is a little more hands off than Texas. There's a lot of places where mandating masks, where I was in Dallas still, but that's just in Dallas. But again, they just
finish your thought on the flying thing, because the segue there is that Fauci, however you say that guy's name, is for, according to recent reports, about mandating vaccines to even require domestic travel.
Yeah.
So this guy, who is not vaccinated, is going to Arizona in a couple weeks, and I had to buy my ticket quickly because if they make that rule, then I'm going to be restrained to wherever I can drive.
Yeah,
which kind of limits overseas travel, Frank.
It already, I mean, overseas travel, even if you have the vaccine, they make you test, they do it. But, you're
it's a good
right.
thing for me. I'm okay with being bored here at the good old US of A.
Yeah. I mean, you asked me a question. You were like, would you ever mandate for your company, people get vaccinated? Absolutely not. I would never do that. So that's just my company. But they are doing that at a lot.
That's good for all my fans. At least I'm going to have a job for a while then.
Yeah. So, But for me, look, I can't go to Consumer Electronics Show. I can't go to, this was okay in Texas, but there's other places that I'm going, probably New York and also to Baltimore to meetings set up over the next probably month and a half. And I'm not going to be able to go indoors, right? Unless you get vaccinated for New York. So for me, I hate it. And I was always like, and every time we talk about COVID, Daniel at CurzioResearch.com, you can email him because I always get
send me your love.
Send the love, baby. Send the love. But for me, I want to know, this is a very simple study, right? So people who had COVID already, like myself, what's a percentage of those people getting the Delta variant, right? How long do those antibodies last compared to people who got the vaccine who didn't have COVID, right? So they didn't have COVID, got the vaccine, and they're getting the Delta, right? They're getting infected with Delta. So for me, I want to look at it as, what's the percentages? How long? And that's pretty easy to find out. We talked about this, Dan. That's a pretty easy statistic to find out because if you have COVID, they're going to mark you down as having COVID. If you get the vaccine, you're in a record database. It's just, hey, typing it in and spitting it out. They won't give us those numbers for some fucking reason, right? We know what reason, but why is this political for? Because I think they think a lot of people that aren't taking the vaccines are anti-vax, and I would say the majority are not. Some people are. But for people like me, I would just want to know if I really need it. And even when you have Dr. Fauci and you have Gottlieb going on saying, we don't know how long the antibodies last, the natural antibodies. So luckily, I have great contacts, like I said, with my doctors and stuff like that. And one of them sent me the results of a test that was done in Israel, which is the first country in the world to fully vaccinate a majority of its citizens against COVID. Now they're seeing one of the world's highest infection rates from Delta, which is very interesting. So they did a study and comparing exactly what I wanted, right? That people who had the vaccine who are now getting COVID again, and those antibodies with those people. How does that work with the antibodies from the vaccine to those who had COVID, have natural antibodies, and are getting Delta, right? And getting COVID again. So the point is to see how long antibodies protect you compared to the vaccine. And it showed while natural immunity does decline over time, those who did not have COVID, right? So these are the people that did not have COVID but got the vaccine. These people had nearly six-fold increase in getting the new Delta variant compared to those who already had COVID but were not vaccinated. That's a freaking big deal.
That is, yeah.
That's a big deal, all right? So that's a study
so you
with the
didn't
largest
have
country.
It, you got the vaccine, and then you got
so basically, you're almost 6 times more likely to get Delta if you're vaccinated compared to if you have COVID and not vaccinated.
Gotcha. Okay.
Showing that the antibodies, while they were declining, they still work. They work better than the vaccine. Now, the thing is, how long? They don't know how long. Maybe it is 9 months and fine. Then get the vaccine. That's fine. I'm not saying anybody with underlying conditions. That's a pretty big deal. But the fact that we won't release those numbers is crazy to me. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And the reason why we won't release those numbers is because, like Biden said when he got on TV, he's like, for the hurricane, remember, for the hurricane, the best thing you could do for the hurricane, the best way, get vaccinated. What?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyway, it's this whole meant to push it. But listen, the bottom line is this. From an investment standpoint, even from a personal standpoint, if you haven't got it, if you want to travel, you're going to have to get it. That's the way they're going to make it. I see this boarding flights. You're going to have these passes that you're going to have to flash. That's going to happen. It's almost a guarantee. It's almost a guarantee. So for me, I have to get it. I just wish I had more data than I knew. It's not that I believe now I get the vaccine, I'm going to die or anything. I'm not. It's just I don't really know if I need it, and I don't know if my family needs it. We didn't get COVID again from Delta, and Delta spread in our area just like it spread in a lot of areas here, and none of us got it. So, and a lot of people we know that got the vaccine did get it. So it's just interesting where you want to see some facts, figures. But we talked about this, Dan. The best ways to play it are what?
Well, I don't know how you can't expose yourself to some pharmaceutical stocks, but as long as we're on the thing of guarantees, how does the market not pull back? If you mandate this across for regular air travel, you got to be careful with gut reactions, but I don't know why you would stay in travel and leisure stocks, because I don't think that, let's use round numbers. Let's say there's 70 to 80 million people that aren't vaccinated right now, give or take. What percentage of those are just going to go get vaccinated right away in order to get on an airplane? I don't know, but that's the big nervous for me about. I've been uncomfortably bullish for a long time because we've talked about the Fed and the programs in place and the liquidity, but as more and more of these mandates start out, I don't know how that doesn't affect businesses' bottom lines and margins, because you're going to really have just a bigger wedge and split between Americans, corporations, and customers. And I don't see how that doesn't significantly pull back in certain stocks that we're already seeing, as well as the broader market. So that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Not even that. Even if I don't know if that is such a big deal, because you're going to see people who you think are going to travel, I guess, are not going to travel anymore, maybe. But I still think it's a big deal that even if you get vaccinated, for me, international travel, the biggest thing is when, you're someplace else, you have to get tested regardless if you have the vaccine or whatever. If you have COVID, doesn't matter. You got to get tested. And say if you do have COVID because you're around a whole bunch of new people, now you're forced to stay there. And I've heard stories from people. It's not just staying there for 2 weeks, which is a massive cost. It's expensive, right? It's for a vacation. You're booking probably a week, 10 days, whatever. Now you got to stay an extra 2 weeks. But they put you like in a special facility and, you're overseas. The people don't speak English.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit. It's you're not going to speak your language. It's
and this
crazy
is in
when
lieu
you have
of,
kids. It's
this
crazy.
is in lieu of corporations already talking about business travel isn't going to come back for at least another year. We're talking pre-COVID 2019 levels.
Yeah.
But how does that timeline not continue to get pushed out the more and more rules and regulations you put up? And that's what's just crazy to me on the travel and things like that. I'm not saying to sell everything right now. There's still a lot of unknowns, and unknowns are dangerous. But the way it's going, it's just, man.
And let's dig into.
I don't know how capital doesn't fly out of that.
I can tell you why you would stay in these stocks, because we're in a lot of these stocks, and why I'm not selling them yet is because I just booked my trip and I've never seen it like this. So even a lot of times I use Expedia. I do fly Delta. I flew American Airlines, which was awesome. The only reason why is because I didn't know Delta, at least the time I wanted to go, did not fly direct to Dallas from Jacksonville. So I flew American Airlines and had a great experience. I usually fly Delta because their hub is here, new planes, but this was like brand new planes. It was really, really good experience. They actually gave you food, a nice meal, which they didn't do.
What? How long was your flight? What do you mean you got a
3 hours. So, and I'm in first class, not because I'm like, holy shit.
Hey, I told you, everybody, Frank's a different guy.
No,
I told you.
No. I booked about 5 different trips that I canceled, and when I canceled them, which was a Dominican trip as well, they give you credits. So they don't give you credits. So you have to use the credits over a certain time. So I'm just using those, and just being able to upgrade it makes it a lot easier. But so they don't do that for Delta, which was interesting. But when I booked a hotel, usually when you go through Expedia, they say the full price is this. Then they were like charging an extra. This doesn't include, $35, $40, $50 a night extra, right? I was like, all right, what the fuck? So now I booked a hotel. It was $150 a night for a hotel that we booked. Again, it was a pretty good rate for the hotel that we got. And again, it was in the middle of the week. And by the time I checked out, so you could do that, it was 2 days. So it was $480 by the time I checked out. Like when I, got, I was like, holy shit, that's a big deal. So the amount of fees that they're charging on top of that is insane right now. And I went directly to the website and they were like, it starts at $200. I'm like, but it turned out to be the same price if it went directly to the hotel.
Oh, okay.
So, you're looking at the fees that they are charging right now. These hotels are freaking insane. And it's going to get worse. I mean, I'm going to Consumer Electronics Show in January, and that was always like, $60 a night. So I go there for like 7 days, right? It's a big event, 4 or 5 days. Have lots of meetings set up, everything, right? We get the media badge. It's cool. We have access to everything. And man, it used to be $50 a night extra, $60 a night extra, $70 a night extra, which adds up. I mean, now it's going to be like $100 a night extra, 100, holy shit. But that you're seeing the fees within all these platforms get raised tremendously. So that's probably why you're seeing earnings explode in this industry. But again, when you look at COVID and stuff, it is scary. And when you look at travel-related stocks, let's do the segue that you're talking about with the casino names and how much these companies have gotten killed, right?
Yeah, and you've talked about this a handful of times. Wynn, is well off its highs, just like other casino stocks. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about China's cracking down on everything from online education to video games, now casinos. I was reading yesterday. So MGM, Vegas, how would you dumb this down real quick, Frank? Vegas is nothing compared to Macau gambling revenues.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
I don't have the number right in front of me, but it's a drop in the bucket compared to
10 years ago. It surpassed them, but it's
wild.
Yeah, it's
but China announced this 45-day consultation period where, and then next year you're going to have to start bidding for these licenses. And the big investor takeaway here, and I've been on this China thing, and we'll keep this short with Soros, as I've joked about a couple weeks ago, and he's going after BlackRock and all this kind of thing. And, it's just funny to watch all these guys, throw mud at each other. However, the big takeaway here is The unknown is a huge risk to investments. And now you're entering this period where I don't understand how these aren't just tradable stocks, Frank. So I want to try to provide value for all you guys out there. I'm not saying to avoid this like the plague. I'm simply saying this isn't an infomercial, Frank. This isn't one of those buy it, set it, and forget it. I would trade around these if you want it all, or I would just sit on the sidelines, because now you have to worry about, Frank, you and I just built a huge multi-billion-dollar casino overseas, and now next year we have to hope that we can negotiate with the government to get our licenses back so that we can operate this multi-billion-dollar facility.
I have the chart.
I want that deal, Frank. Like, I want to be that guy. Hey, thanks for doing this. Now, what are we going to charge you to keep doing it?
And these things are, well,
what are you going to do? You're going to pick up your building and put it on a container ship you can't rent right now and bring it home? No.
It's crazy. The moves in these stocks, too. I have it up right now. So, it's one thing to say, hey, they're down 30-40% from the highs, but you're looking at, it was 135, now it's 86. But even in the last month, when you're looking at Win,
just the last couple of days, look at that.
Yeah, it was 103, so this is the 13th, and today's the 16th, and it's like 86. So these things got killed in Las Vegas Sands. Now, why am I bringing those two up is because I visited Macau. I'm very familiar with this trend. And there was only 3 licenses given to U.S.-based companies. MGM was one of them. But Wynn and Las Vegas Sands became as close to pure plays, even though Wynn and Las Vegas Sands have their resorts other places around countries and stuff like that. But that was like, they went all in on that, right? So they were able to granted 3 licenses. And in Macau, they built out these amazing hotels. I visited them. Incredible. Much better than the Vegas hotels that they built. And now you're pulling back, right? So, this, again, China finding ways to hurt everybody else, pulling back in different industries, just crushing everything. Guys, you got to be careful, right? If you have exposure to China, be careful, because as big as China is, and a lot of companies, and especially Apple, is in bed with them, and they have to be, because that's the biggest growth market in the world. So everyone wants to be involved with them, and they'll cut corners and do whatever. But you need to be careful, not just China, but the bigger lesson here, I think, is just when you're looking at different countries and people. Usually China doesn't do what they're doing right now. It's not as crazy, but when you invest in mining companies and it's a unfriendly mining district, the government could turn around and say, okay, the mine could be the best mine in the world. Holy shit, these guys are dead right. Huge grade, massive. Yep. This thing's worth $2 billion and the market cap's $100 million. The thing goes all the way up, right? 10x. And then next thing you know, the government's like, well, we're going to take like 70% of that. And you're dead. Yeah. You got to be careful. So with these companies going all in on that growth market, and now you're seeing shit like this come up, it's scary. I disagree with you on the other hand, and to the point where I don't know if I'd have, if you have speculative money or whatever, buying these things at this discount, I would think. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have few people coming in. It's going to be less revenue to the government over there. These guys, with the government, they make their money just like our government makes their money, right? So they're going to make their money. But, are you going to really crush these guys to the point where it's hurting yourself? Right. That's why cigarettes aren't banned, right? Because, they know people are addicted. They can raise the prices tremendously. And now you're actually seeing cigarette companies actually grow their earnings a lot because they're able to pass on those costs. They didn't ban it completely. They just said, hey, we're taking more money from you. And that's what the governments do, right? So they don't want to just say, okay, outlaw it. No way. No cigarettes. Because then they lose tons of revenue. So at this, seeing these things down from 130 to 80, at least, Wynn and Las Vegas Sands getting crushed. Again, people could have said 2 weeks ago that I think it's a buying opportunity. I saw a lot of people on CNBC say, it's a buying opportunity. They're familiar with these stocks.
I can tell though it's getting low enough to where you're looking at it. I like that. I see the wheels turning. That's good. Well,
listen, this is just classic for me. What I've learned in markets, when everybody's talking about a risk, and Tesla's a good example of this. I love watching Twitter and people say the batteries are blowing up and false accounting and Elon Musk is an asshole and all this shit. They're saying the same shit that they said for the past 5 years. Okay, when you say, it's just like good point. Herbalife, same thing with Ackman, saying it's a Ponzi scheme for 3 years. 3 years, if you couldn't figure out it's a Ponzi scheme, not that a Ponzi scheme is illegal, it's just, hey, I'm selling it. You want to get more people to sell and everybody makes money, gotcha. Whatever, you could debate that.
Frank, don't say Ponzi, say pyramid. It sounds better.
Pyramid. It's a pyramid scheme. That's what I said. But I think he did say Ponzi.
Oh, he said
Ponzi, yeah, but it was more like pyramid. But anyway, you're right. So for 3 years, I'm like, if you couldn't figure it out and you got the government after him, you did all this shit, then you're wrong. Yep. And finally he sold. But when you're looking at this and saying, okay, what's factored into this? The whole freaking China story is factored into these things. I mean, the market cap that these guys lost, 40% of the market cap, you're looking at a lot of this stuff. When is it priced in? And a lot of times people look at it and say, holy shit, things are bad. But a lot of this is priced in where you just need a little bit of good news, the government to ease up a little bit.
Right.
And, you can see this thing really, really go. But
and one quick thing here, last thing on the investor takeaway there is the nice thing about investing is when prices go down, your risk goes down along with that. So as wind keeps dropping, if MGM keeps dropping, the risk, to your point, is being baked in. It's in the process of being priced in, and that's a good thing. It's hard to buy when things are running down, but to Frank's point, that's when you want to look at it. I would still use it as a hedge and a trading opportunity. We'll have to timestamp this, Frank, because I just don't think the crackdowns are going to...
We had someone come on this podcast and say it was time to buy one of the China stocks, and it looked like it was going to be good, and it wound up crashing.
Yeah,
right? So it's I'm not asking you to catch a falling knife here.
Oh, right,
but
absolutely. But I do like the thing, though, when prices drop, so does risk. And that's a big takeaway, and people need to write that down somewhere because that'll help you out in the future.
And watch the insiders. I like to see insiders purchase here because if they're purchasing, then they know that, hey, I would be a lot more comfortable buying it here than waiting for the trend to be in your favor.
Yeah.
But if I see insiders buying, obviously I'm not going to be buying unless they think this is completely oversold and China's going to ease up a little bit. But again, it's speculative, but a lot of this stuff is priced in, weighed out a little bit, maybe wait for it to move 5-10% higher. You're still going to be perfectly fine.
I was going to say, you're
130 to
yeah.
90, it's 80, whatever. That's the way to play it. And the last thing I want to get to today, which we got 3 minutes left, is uranium. So we had Amir on, and uranium it's gone parabolic. It's incredible to see what that entity with Sprott and buying those physical pounds off the market. Guys, I hope you listen with Amir. Prices just started going up. I think they were like 31, 32, and now the spot prices are 50. They continue to go higher, and this is not a GameStop or AMC thing. This is a move based on a fundamental change in the marketplace, right? It's taken massive supply off the market, which is Sprott, and their new entity buying uranium. And how much did they raise, Daniel? How much was it?
Well, they upset. It was about $300 million, and the Sprott uranium fund that we had talked about with Amir, and then in the Dollar Stock Club, and they upsized that offering, or that's not the right term, Frank, but they put it to $1.3 billion. So
yes.
They raised an extra billion, or got the okay to.
Okay, that's not just mom and pop money coming in. That's hedge funds, massive hedge funds, big money going into this industry, and they are in it long term. Because you're seeing that it's one of the first times in over a decade where you have price discovery for uranium. You didn't have that. So electricity companies who need to lock in these freaking prices, right? They need mass supply of this stuff. And a lot of supply has come off the market, right? Just, they stop, just providing uranium for Cameco, Cutback, Cigar Lake, and their two biggest projects, Kazakhstan, all that. But now you're seeing everything come together because electricity companies, with the price going up, they're being forced to go in there and buy this because they're like, holy shit, now we need to lock in these long-term contracts. And that was like the bearish thesis a little bit. Like for me, I was like, man, at $30, how come the electricity companies aren't coming in where we're seeing supply-demand bounce completely, in the bull's favor? Now you're seeing that. It's a perfect storm. I hope you listen to the interview with Amir. That was on September 1st, guys. When we did that, Uranium Royalty, which company talked about, his company was $3. It's over $5. That's 66% gains in 2 weeks. UEC was $2.50. It's $3.70 today. That's 50% gain. Azarg Uranium, which is one of my holdings, I talked to you guys about. So Azarg and Uroy are the two Uranium Royalty, two companies I own. That was at 30 cents. It's over 60 because they're getting taken over. And based on the conversion, the company that's taking them over, people are buying that, and it's going higher and higher and higher. And that's 100% gain, 60 cents, 100% gain in a couple of weeks. That's what I love about what I do is like I try to get into things, and you could have bought them a little bit earlier and did okay. But guys, those gains are incredible in a couple of weeks by having the right people on the podcast, having the right connections, and getting into these things before everybody else. We did it with so many different trends, especially over the past 6-9 months. And it's something I pride myself on, bringing you guys stories ahead of everybody else. The people who were in uranium for the last 7-8 years, 10 years, good for them. But they also missed out on a major market move for us getting in at this price and seeing these kind of gains for a lot of you if you follow our advice. I'm really, really happy for you. I'd love to hear from you at frankcurzioresearch.com about some of those gains that you made, not just for me, but for yourself, because I know a lot of you invest in uranium and get a lot of calls on it. But damn, this is like, I don't think this is going to stop anytime soon. This isn't the AMC thing where you got a Reddit crowd and just trying to force short sales.
This is
actual freaking demand coming in that needs to be done, and prices going higher, forcing the issue.
Yeah, it's not because of Reddit, but the Reddit Wall Street Bets crowd, if they're not involved yet, they are, and they will be. So yeah, get exposure. The takeaway there is have exposure to uranium. It's not over.
No, good stuff. All right, man. So we want to keep this at 30 minutes, and we are just at that mark right now. So, Daniel, thank you so much for coming in. We're going to be doing this every Thursday. Guys, let us know if there's topics you want to talk about. Any questions, frankcurzioresearch.com. let us know. We like discussing it, how you make money off these trends. And this is probably the most popular segment in terms of emails and what we get. And we both love doing this. So, Daniel, I want to say thanks so much for coming aboard. And
cheers.
Yeah, guys, listen, we're 100% transition into our new format. So I want to hear from you. FrankCurzioResearch.com. Always open to making this podcast better for you. We do so many more things. We are doing some more great changes coming up. Not really changes, but just, filtering our content, breaking up these parts of the videos into smaller segments, into minute, 30 seconds, putting them all over, social media, rebuilding our website around this. Really, really exciting times. But, we're going to start having it. We're going to get a producer in here who's going to be doing all the, because I do a lot of camera work and stuff. So it's getting real now. It's getting to be a real show. It's going to be a lot of fun, and that's thanks to you. So again, I'd like to hear from you, FrankCurzioResearch.com. That's it for me. Really appreciate all the support, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.